We'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Peoria City Council to order. Welcome H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU as well as Cable Channel 22. Madam Clerk, the council microphones are open for roll call.
Mayor Artis.
Here.
Councilmember Ali. Councilmember Sear. Councilmember Grayeb.
Here.
Councilmember Jensen. Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Montalongo.
Here.
Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Euler. Councilmember Riggenbach. And Councilmember Ruckriegel. You have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'd like to invite everyone to join us and stand for a moment of silent prayer or silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We have several proclamations tonight. We'll start with the 50th anniversary of Technocraft, and we'll ask them to join us right at the center podium.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Because I could. I was there.
Whereas in 1969, Ted Kern, an Army veteran and printing professional, decided that he wanted to go into business for himself. After receiving a loan from a friend, he purchased his first piece of equipment. Operating under the name of Graphic Arts Studio, the business was primarily a pre-press company, serving companies like Simantel, Multi-Ad, and CMFI Group, among others. And whereas Ted continued to grow the business, opening an art store in the 1970s. Changing the name to Technocraft Supply Company, the company expanded to another location on Lake Avenue. And whereas in 1979, Tom Whalen, Ted's son-in-law, joined the company, later purchasing the business in 2004. The company grew again, setting up a location on Pioneer Parkway, and later the current Elm Street location where Tom works with his daughter, Colleen. And whereas the secret to their success has been credited to Ted's forward thinking. He never got involved in offset printing. Instead, he focused solely on digital, thus creating a unique service in the region. The company now focuses on reproduction work, and they are often entrusted with valuable pieces from photographs to original art. And whereas the longevity of the third generation family-owned business can best be attributed to their ability to attend to the needs of their customers while navigating an ever-changing printing environment. Now, therefore, I, Jim Artis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby recognize and celebrate the 50th anniversary of Technocraft in Peoria, Illinois. So we all know the difficulties of being in business, especially a small business, and especially in the state of Illinois. So we would like to sincerely congratulate Tom and his daughter and their family for running a successful, very successful business in our city for 50 years and hopefully for 50 more. So Tom, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you. You're welcome. Well, thank you, Mayor Artis and the entire City Council. At this time, for us, to celebrate the past and look ahead to the future. Although much has changed since 1969, we at Technocraft maintain our commitment to the people we serve on a daily basis. We also want to thank our customers over these last 50 years. There are too many to mention, but without all of them, we wouldn't be here tonight. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and we look forward to another 50 more years.
Next, we have the 90th anniversary of the Italian American Society. Whereas on August the 30th, 1929, the Articles of Incorporation were finalized for the Italian American Society of Peoria. Then on October 5th, 1929, the families of the 17 founders went to Springfield to receive the charter from the state of Illinois, acknowledging the founding of this new organization. And whereas over the last 9 decades, the Society has continued to support education and promote an appreciation of Italian heritage in central Illinois. And whereas every year the Italian American Society of Peoria awards scholarships to high school seniors or college undergraduates of Italian descent to assist in obtaining advanced education in their chosen fields. And whereas each August the Society celebrates their heritage at the Festa Picnic, where they enjoy Italian music, a bocce ball tournament, authentic Italian food, and a chance to be in the company of family and friends. This celebration is also the main fundraiser for the scholarship program, and they have raised almost $90,000 in scholarships since the inception of the event. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby celebrate the 90th anniversary of the Italian American Society in Peoria, Illinois. So we have Bob Willey here. He's the president of the organization, and he's going to give us a little bit more information. Bob?
Thank you, Mayor Ardis. I'm proud to be here as a descendant of an Italian immigrant. My mother emigrated to America in 1939. She was born in a small little town near Naples, Italy, called Buccino. And I can still remember as a child my mother and her mother living in our house, baking Italian food during the day. We used to make dough for pizza, make pastas, make sauce, and I couldn't wait for dinner to come. And our festa every year is a celebration of that. It's a celebration of family, of food, and music that we have every year. And as Mayor Ardis said, since 1979, we've been funding scholarships to descendants of our membership, as well as sponsoring scholarships for Bradley University, for Eureka College, and Illinois Central College. And we've raised a bit over $84,000 and given that out to scholarships since 1979. And we're proud to be part of the city and part of the heritage of the city of Peoria. And we want to thank you, Mayor, for the proclamation.
Next, we have the 148th Annual African Methodist Episcopal Convention. Hi, Lynn. Lynn Scott Pearson, an esteemed county board member of the former member of the county board, and still a member of our police and fire commission. And just want to pay special recognition to a person who's given a lot of time and effort to our community. Thank you. Whereas Ward Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Peoria's oldest black church, established in 1846, August 27th through August the 31st, 2019, Ward Chapel will hold the 148th session of the Illinois Annual Conference. And whereas Ward Chapel AME Church has expanded its congregation since the beginning, when services were held in various homes. On April the 8th, 1956, Ward Chapel built a new church at their present location at 511 North Richard Allen Drive and dedicated the new church and youth center to the glory of God and the service of man. And whereas Ward Chapel AME Church has had many distinguished personalities speak at their services over the years, including the following: Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Hallie Q. Brown, Richard B. Harrison, Mary B. Talbert, Langston Hughes, Malia Jackson, John Lynch, A.G. Gaston, and Jackie Robinson. And whereas Ward Chapel AME Church experienced a history-making moment in November 2011 when Reverend Elaine P. Gordon was appointed as Ward Chapel's first female pastor. And whereas Ward Chapel AME Church in September of 2016 was blessed to receive the appointed and current pastor, Reverend Adrienne L. Johnson. She continues her journey of kingdom building, financial stewardship, and leading the congregation higher with God's help into the 21st century. And whereas Ward Chapel AME Church is happy to host and welcome the Right Reverend Bishop John Franklin White, the presiding prelate of the 4th Episcopal District, Supervisor Penny Hartsfield White, all members of the Illinois Conference, and many visitors and friends to the 148th session of the Illinois Annual Conference. Now therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize Ward Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church on the occasion of the 148th session of the Illinois Conference in Peoria, Illinois. Reverend Arthur Williams is going to give us a little bit more information with support of several other members of the congregation that are with us this evening. Reverend? You're welcome.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. To Mayor Ardis and members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Reverend Arthur Williams, Senior Elder Statesman of 67 years at Ward Chapel AME Church. Our pastor is out of the city. We are here tonight on behalf of our pastor, Adrienne Johnson, and the officers and members of Ward Chapel AME Church, organized by Reverend Philip Ward in 1846, the year after the city was founded. We greet you in the matchless, sinless, stainless name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And we're present here this evening to announce that Ward Chapel will be hosting and entertaining the 148th session of the Illinois Annual Conference from August the 27th to the 31st. The Right Reverend John Franklin White, presiding prelate, and Mrs. Penny Hartsfield White, Episcopal supervisor. We invite any of you during this session to come and visit us. We welcome you, and we'll be glad to see you at any of our sessions that are not business, and services which will be not entertaining but will be inspiring. These are some of our faithful members of Ward Chapel. All of you know Sister Lynn Scott Pearson, former county board supervisor, Brother Neil This is this is the fire chief, Ron Jones' son. He retired, see. This is C.C. Jordan, daughter of Ferdinand Jones, who used to run the automobile wash place up there, and Sister Margaret Johnson. So we're here. This is just a few that here just that came along, and they insisted I should come. I'm a 67-year member of Ward Chapel, and I've seen pastors come and go, so I'm here to represent the pastor here, which I've done for 67 years. And we're delighted to be here, and we thank you for this here opportunity. We thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you very much. Finally, we're going to do one that we don't do this very often, but I'm going to ask the council if they would join me for this last proclamation here. And as long as they're at it, we'll see, maybe we get the city manager and the corporation council to come over here too. As long as everybody else is up here, I'll just ask the clerk to come on over as well, please. We have to have your assistant stay there because somebody's going to have to take notes on this. Hi. Thanks for coming over. Oh, they're cold. Whereas on August the 11th, 1989, Beth Ball was appointed to serve as the Chief Deputy City Clerk. And on June 26, 2012, she was appointed by Mayor Jamardis to serve the remainder of the retiring city clerk's term, which expired in May of 2013. She then ran unopposed in the 2013 and 17 general elections for the office of the city clerk. And whereas her professional accomplishments are many, Madam Clerk earned her certifications for registered municipal clerk and for certified municipal clerk in 2006. In 2011, she earned the distinction of Master Municipal Clerk through the Municipal Clerks of Illinois and the University of Illinois in Springfield. She's also active in the Municipal Clerks of Illinois, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, the Central Illinois Municipal Clerks Organization, and served SIMCO as president from 2005 and 2006. SIMCO awarded Madam Clerk with the President's Award in 2000 and 2012. And whereas in her role as city clerk, Beth Ball works for one of the oldest offices in public service. She and her staff provide the link between citizens and local governing bodies and provide exceptional professionalism and unparalleled knowledge. Her love for her profession is evident in the vast network of clerk colleagues in the region who continue to learn from one another and share best practices. And whereas while she's lived in the area her entire life, Peoria has been her home since 1972, and she enjoys her free time volunteering for organizations in the community in which she serves. And whereas thousands of people enjoy hearing her voice during city council meetings, but her biggest fans are her husband, Fred, and their two dogs, Pepper and Lucy. Now, therefore, I, Jamardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize Beth Ball's 30 years of service to the City of Peoria in Peoria, Illinois. So the clerk doesn't get a chance to talk very often other than announcing agenda items. So she's probably got a lot to say. But on behalf of the entire city council, the manager and his staff, we just thank you, Beth, for an unbelievable tenure here. And because we're giving you this 30, doesn't mean anything because we're expecting that we'll do this on the 35th and the 40th too. So, but we did want to recognize just your unblemished service to this community, and really the clerk's office is the sole office that really provides the oversight and keeping all the important records safe, and making sure that when somebody wants to find out what happened 60 years ago and who said it, they find out and they get that to us. And they also do a really good job of making sure that the council members abide by all the things that we're required to abide by the state. And sometimes that's not easy to do, but they're an outstanding group of professionals. She has a great staff, and we really appreciate your service. So now you can say whatever you want.
Thank you. You're welcome. All I can say is I hope the next 30 years does not go as quickly as the last 30 years, because I'm in trouble if that's the truth. So I am speechless for once. I really, this was a surprise. I don't usually like surprises, but I have to say that when I walked in here 30 years ago, I had no idea what I was signing on for. I really hadn't, it was the first meeting that was televised, and I was terrified. And I would only had to sit there. I didn't have to say anything, but I was terrified. And but that council then took me under their wing, and Mary Haynes, and the rest is kind of history. But I have enjoyed wonderful relationships with not only the city council, but the staff is amazing. They're great people. My staff, who is Trina Bonds, Stephanie Tarr, and Connie Duffy, we are just a tight-knit little group that we churn it out every day. And I appreciate them so much. But I appreciate the mayor has always been, I mean, I've worked with him for 20 years, and everybody else that's, been around forever. So I really appreciate this. And I'm not going anywhere. I will be here hopefully for the next 30 years. So we'll see. We'll see how many other people are here in 30 years. So thank you very much. And thank you, City Council, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a special thanks to our communications director, Stacy Peterson, who pulled a lot of information together for us to get that done today. Councilman Ruckriegel.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the joint City Council and Town Board meeting held on July 23rd, 2019, and the minutes of the special council meetings held on July 22nd and 24th, 2019 as printed.
Seconded by Councilmember Graham. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
The first item of business is a town item. 19-254 is a request from the town officials to approve the July 2019 actual expenditures and to approve the August 2019 anticipated expenditures for the town of the city of Peoria.
Thank you. Trustee Graham.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve as outlined.
Okay. Seconded by Trustee Kelly. Are there any discussion or questions on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
This is a township unfinished item. 19-220 is the annual town financial report, April 1 of 2018 to March 31, 2019 for the town of the city of Peoria, with a recommendation to receive and file.
Trustee Grab.
I'd move to defer this item until the August 27 City Council meeting.
Okay, seconded by Trustee Riggenbach. Is there discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
We're at the consent agenda. 19-255 is a request to approve a facade improvement program grant for gun axe throwing at 1001 Southwest Washington Street in an amount not to exceed $5,000. 19-256 is a request to accept a dedication deed from Lake Avenue Cottages for a parcel of land encompassing portions of a public street. 19-257 is a request to approve $560,077 in HUD home funds for Peoria Opportunities Foundation for the construction of 30 new affordable single-family owner-occupied homes located in the East Bluff neighborhood. 19-258 is a request to approve $110,000 in HUD home Chodo funds for Habitat for Humanity, Greater Peoria, for the construction of one new affordable single-family owner-occupied home located at 616 East Gift. 19-259 is a request to accept the low bid of R.A. Cullinan & Son, a division of United Contractors Midwest, and award a construction contract in the amount of $411,000 and the base bid plus 10% contingency for the seal coating contract for 2019. 19-260 is a request to accept the low bid of Microsurfacing Contractors, LLC, and award a construction contract in the amount of $373,660, which includes the base bid plus 10% contingency for a high-quality aggregate polymer modified slurry seal contract 2019. 19-261 is a request to approve a contract with Mohawk Lifts for the replacement of the medium duty vehicle lift at the Fleet Maintenance Garage in the amount of $40,575, utilizing the Sourcewell National Joint Purchasing Alliance government purchasing contract. 19-262 is a request to approve Amendment Number 3 to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Peoria and Peoria Public Schools for the city to provide a total of 4 Peoria police officers to certain specific district high schools. 19-249 is a recommendation from the Fire Prevention Division to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 11 of the Code of the City of Peoria pertaining to fire prevention codes relating to fees for permits and licenses. 19-250 is a recommendation from the Fire Prevention Division to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 11 of the Code of the City of Peoria, fire prevention codes relating to adoption of codes and records. 19-263 is a request to approve the site application for a Class B restaurant 50% food liquor license with on-site consumption and retail sale of alcohol at Childers Eatery, War Memorial, DBA Childers Eatery, 5201 West War Memorial Drive, Unit 206, contingent upon issuance of all appropriate permits and a certificate of occupancy with a recommendation from the Liquor Commission to approve. And 19-264 is appointment by Mayor Artis to the Peoria Area Convention and Visitors Bureau with a request to concur of Joseph DeFonso. And that completes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any items to remove from consent this evening? Councilmember Ruckriegel.
Thank you. 19-255.
255, Councilman Moore.
Thank you. Items 19259 and 19260, please.
259, 260.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Item 19257, please.
257, Councilmember Jensen.
262, please.
262. Any other items to remove from consent tonight? Seeing none, I have a motion to approve the remaining items. Councilmember Ruckriegel, seconded Councilmember Riggenbach. Please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
19-255 is the request to approve the facade improvement program grant for gone axe throwing.
Councilmember Ruckriegel.
Thank you, Mayor. Really, I think my question is really for the city manager, just on clarification, and I think it's probably just a mistyping here. What we have in front of us is a facade improvement, and it says improvement grant of U greater than 4,000. I think what they probably mean there is no greater than 4,000. The estimate on the project is 3,800. I'm sorry, 6,800, and our 50% would be 3,400. So just for clarification, wanted to make for sure that what that was supposed to read was improvement grant of no greater than 4,000.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. With that clarification, I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Sear. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
Item 19-257 is the request to approve the HUD Home Funds for Peoria Opportunities Foundation.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes, I have three items to point out on this particular item. First of all, it seems to me that these 30 houses are costing a great deal of money. Beyond the construction and site acquisition cost, we're talking about around $92,000, $93,000 more dollars for per unit for various services, including $29,000 for Peoria Opportunities, which ends up being about $900,000 to that entity through this project. I'm not an expert in construction. I did make a few calls. It seems that these kinds of wonderful items that we get with free money certainly end up costing taxpayers a lot. Taxpayers in Peoria as well as taxpayers everywhere else in the country. And so that's my first objection. Secondly, if you consider the landlords that are in the East Bluff area and 30 brand spanking new homes, beautiful homes, are erected in their area, virtually all with rents that are well below the rental market of these new buildings. This is going to put a great deal of pressure on the existing landlords. In order to compete, the existing landlords are probably going to have to lower their rents. And as they lower their rents, they will probably have to defer maintenance. And so we will take any number of not so good landlords and make them bad landlords. And we will take a lot of good landlords and force them to be not so good landlords. And I would suspect that within not too many years, like 3 or 4, the situation on the East Bluff will be worse than it is now. It sounds like a freebie, but the cost to the people on the East Bluff is going to be worse than today. And so I roll back to my one note Charlie. If we want to improve neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods that are in trouble in Peoria, we need to incentivize the people who are there rather than do something like this, which I think will drive the East Bluff ultimately further down. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And with all due respect, Councilman, I couldn't disagree with you more. The cost, of course, is something that we're all very cognizant of, but anytime we have funding streams like this, there's things like prevailing wage that are required that a lot of builders in Peoria wouldn't normally pay. So I offered you yesterday to sit down with Ms. Genzel, and she's in the audience, and we'll certainly do that to help you understand the way that these costs are put together, because that's something that's out of our control. And to call this a freebie is, I think, anything but accurate. The tax credit financing is a very complex mechanism, and when you look at the funding sources that POF has gone through, there's nothing free here. One of the desires of projects like this is to address the very real need we have in our community for affordable housing. We're not talking about cheap housing. We're talking about housing that people can afford to live in. And that's something that this addresses head on. And that is something that this council has made a commitment to, previous councils have made a commitment to, and I think that's a commitment that we owe our community, no question asked. In response to your comment about landlords lowering the rent, I see the opposite happening. I see this as raising the bar. If I'm a landlord and all of a sudden there's 30 new houses and I have a home that is not good condition, I'm going to have to improve that in order to get people to live there. And that's, I think, as likely a scenario as your doomsday scenario. So I've been in discussions with POF, as have most of the colleagues around this horseshoe for the last 3 years, talking about this. We've presented this innumerable times throughout the community. I think we would be doing a huge disservice to not approve this additional funding tonight and move forward with 30 new affordable housing units for the people who need it the most in our community. Thank you. And I'll move for approval.
Okay. Motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Moore. I have additional discussion. Councilmember Ruckriegel was first.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilman Riggenbach, for your words on this. I think the need is real, and it is quantifiable. When we look at the United Way, their research on our area, and granted their research goes a little bit farther county-wide, but I think that it also mirrors what we have in the city, and that's 25% of our residents in the area do not have what is adequate housing. That is, that it takes less than 30% of their income to be able to have housing, including the utilities that it takes to be able to operate it, or that they don't have adequate plumbing, adequate kitchen facilities, adequate bathrooms, or that they're doubling up. And so the need is real for affordable housing. And it's quality affordable housing, because it's not just what you pay for the monthly rent, it's what it takes you to live there. And I know that it might seem at first that these units could be done cheaper, they could be done in a different way, but I also remember Councilmember Sandberg many years ago when there was another agenda item that came forward, and he talked about the fact that people who are in affordable housing deserve houses that fit in the context. And over the years, the city has done a lot better job making sure that our housing that we're going to be developing mirrors the context of the environment that they're in. And I'm proud to see this project come forward. And it's not dollar for what the housing project does, because the ripple effect of these houses going into our neighbors will help stabilize it. Last night, we were at a meeting with my fellow council member Jensen and council member Riggenbach, and we heard from neighbors. They want a stabilization of their East Bluff, and this is one of the pieces that it will take to be able to do that. And I would concur, if we have a stabilized area, rents should be able to go up for those landlords, because there is more commitment they see into the area. Dollar for dollar, we're getting a lot of bang for the buck here, and I look forward to seeing these 30 houses come online.
I had Councilmember Moore next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo my colleagues' comments, and as a representative for Council District 1, I can tell you, aside from what PCCEO has tried to do over the years, I wish someone had come to the 1st District, South Side, and parts of the North Valley with 30 new homes to help stabilize those areas. And so I commend POF for moving forward with this project. It is needed. Affordable, decent, affordable housing is what's needed. Not just affordable housing, but decent affordable housing. And I believe that folks at all income strata deserve a decent place to live and an opportunity to live in a nice place. It's amazing when you have a nice place to live in, it changes how you feel. I mean, have you ever gone out and bought a new dress or a new jacket or a new pair of shoes, and when you put that on, you kind of feel good. It makes you feel good, and you don't want anybody touching it because you don't want to get it dirty. You want to keep it looking new as long as possible. And if this is the kind of thing that helps drive that type of behavior and other negative behaviors out of these areas, then I applaud it. The fact that the federal government is providing these funds that allow us to do these kinds of things, this is something that we could not have done out of our own pocketbook, out of the city of Peoria coffers. We couldn't have done this. But this is pass-through funding coming from the federal government that is allowing us to improve our communities. And I applaud Councilman Riggenbach for moving this forward, and POF and Habitat for Humanity and all those who are out there, whether they're building one home or 50. We invite you to the city of Peoria, and we want to make sure that you're successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ali.
Thank you, Mayor Artis. I support this opportunity very enthusiastically. I am very proud to see an investment in this older neighborhood. I think that this will not be just an investment in the neighborhood, but also an investment in people's lives. And I think that it can be life-changing. And I applaud the work of Peoria Opportunities Foundation, who's been committed to this area for many, many years. And I think that they're the right organization to be making this, leading this project. And so I will be voting yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also enthusiastically support this project and this action item. I think, although it's been kind of already said, the whole purpose of the home funds are to reinvest in challenged areas like the East Bluff. And that's what the purpose of the money is, and that's what we're using it for. The East Bluff really needs that investment from us, and I think this is going to be a successful project. The Peoria Opportunities Foundation is a known entity. They have experience in building affordable housing and doing projects like this, and they have done a great job. They're committed to the East Bluff, and I don't think this money could go to a better organization. So I'm very proud also to represent it. I think the design of these houses is fantastic. It fits very well with the neighborhood, and I love the way they look. I think it's going to be a real asset to the neighborhood and all the people that live there and the property owners that live there as well. So I enthusiastically support this. I think this is the whole purpose of the home funds that are not city funds, that are federal funds that are set up to do exactly what this proposal is proposing to do. So with that, I look forward to the vote, and I look forward to seeing this happen. Thank you.
Councilmember Graham.
Councilman Riggenbach, 30 homes are being constructed. And how much money is being utilized to do that?
The total budget?
Yes, sir. 10 what?
10 million.
10 million, okay. That would mean each home would be what, $333,000?
No.
Yes, it's listed out on page 10 of the packet.
Yeah, I was doing my arithmetic on it, and if you just simply do the division, each property is about $333,000. So I do believe that the East Bluff, City of Peoria, needs a good vitamin B12 shot. And, we have development going up in the second district where each condo is going to be selling for over $300,000, and these are actually homes that are being built. And I believe adding value to everything around these homes. So I think, if anything, by making a better neighborhood with this considerable investment, it should cause all the boats to rise that are in the water instead of it being a subtraction process. So I agree with my colleagues. I think it's the way to go, and I will, of course, support it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kelly.
I would like to add my voice to congratulate and to applaud all those who have promoted this. I do not question their good intentions. If one looks at the effects on neighborhoods of these kinds of programs across the country, you'll find out that what I have stated is correct. I would just ask you to consider that good intentions, and we all have those, good intentions are no substitute for reality, certainly not a good substitute for good economics. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no further lights, we have a motion to approve in a second. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes with 9 ayes, 1 nay. Councilmember Kelly. Madam Clerk.
19-259 is the request to accept the low bid of R.A. Cullinan & Son for seal coating contract.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to ask, each time these items come up, as is my custom, I'm always looking for the minority participation, the minority and women participation in the contract. And on 259, my attention was drawn to our minority goal of 18%. And I'm trying to understand, does it indicate here that the participation on this project was 17.1% for the minority goal?
The minority goal is 18%. That was last year's numbers.
Right.
They did not meet the goal last year, but they've given a commitment to meeting the goal in 19.
So it indicates on here that the goal last year was 18%, and on this project, it's now 17.1%, or that they came in at 17.1%.
17.1% in 2018.
Okay, that's what I thought it meant. So So not necessarily with this one, because I don't have a concern with this one because they were within 0.9% of meeting our goal. But it made me want to ask the question, for those companies that do not meet or come that close to meeting our goal, what is our process or procedure? Do we just bring them on and keep hoping that they meet it, or is there somebody that oversees the process to make sure that they do meet it, or get at least as close as this company did? What do we do with that?
I'm sorry, that's the question I cannot fully answer. We definitely work with the companies and try to get them up to the goal as possible. If they cannot meet the goal, then that will affect the bidding process.
Appreciate your being here because Director Lewis is out today. But at the next meeting, if you could have him, or if by that time our new Public Works Director is installed, I would like to know what the city's process is in following up with companies who continue to bid for projects and don't meet our goals, don't come this close to our goals. What is it that we do? Do we follow up with them, or do we just shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, and keep it moving, because we can't keep it moving?
No, I'm sure we don't just shrug our shoulders and move on, but we will get the process, and I think we can bring that to you next time as a report back.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to move for approval.
Okay. Motion to approve, seconded Councilman Sear. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
19-260 is the request to accept the low bid of micro-servicing contractors for the slurry seal contract.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this item, I'd like to get more information about this one. I will ask to defer to next time, because in this particular case, this company did not meet their minority participation. In fact, they asked for a waiver. And that waiver was granted, it says, because no minority women business-owned enterprise have the equipment or the necessary qualifications to perform slurry seal. And so my question is, when we say that that individual, that company did not exist, I would like to know next time when we bring this back next meeting, the 27th, if we are only looking at right here inside Peoria, if we're looking at the Central Illinois region, if we're looking at the state, what is the city's process in determining how far out we look for a contractor that could meet this goal? Because if it's just inside Peoria, sometimes, as maybe this is, there are processes where there's no one inside Peoria that can do that. So do we expand to the Central Illinois region? Do we expand to the state? And so I kind of want to know what that process is so that we understand when someone's asking for a waiver, that we're just not willy-nilly giving up waivers to people because they looked across the street and couldn't find somebody.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Manager.
We will look at the regional contractors. Most of our contractors don't reside in the city of Peoria, so we'll look at
Wait a minute, could you repeat that?
Most of the contractors that we use for construction work are not Peoria companies. They are regional companies. They're companies in the area. They employ Peorians, but they may not have their headquarters here inside the city of Peoria. And we will look within that regional area to see if there are contractors, minority contractors, that can perform that subcontracting work with them. And in this instance, this contractor has stated there is no minority contractor in the region that can do this work. That's the reason why the Equal Opportunity Manager signed off on the good faith efforts clause, saying there was no one that could do this work.
So when you say the region, you're talking about the Central Illinois region? Correct. Okay. And so do we stop there? Is there ever an opportunity to look outside of the region?
Then it's a cost issue. If you're trying to bring people in from outside of the Central Illinois area, now what you're looking at is the cost of bringing them in to do this work. So, and that would increase the bidding cost for the city. We can certainly have a discussion about that, and we'll be happy to have if you want to continue to defer the item, we certainly can, and we can give you more information as we come back in 2 weeks. But there's a cost of trying to bring in other subcontractors when you're bringing them in from outside of the regional area that we're working in.
You said a minute ago that even though they may not reside inside Peoria, they oftentimes use Peoria labor. Would that be an opportunity with this as well?
That I don't know the answer to. I don't know the answer to that question specifically. I'm saying generally what we have are regional contractors that they may not have their headquarters here in Peoria. It may be East Peoria, it could be Mackinac, it could be some other community in the Tri-County area, and they employ Peorians as well.
Right.
And so I don't know the answer to, does this specific company employ Peorians on this job? That I don't know the answer to.
So I'd like to get the answer. I see that in 2017, the slurry seal contract minority participation rates exceeded city goals. Is this company called Slurry Seal? Or is that just that process?
That process.
Okay.
The company is
So-
Microsurfacing Contractors, LLC.
Okay. So the fact that the slurry seal contract for minority participation rates exceeded city goals is irrelevant to this particular contractor. So let's bring those answers back next time, and maybe we can add some clarity so that those contractors who are listening and maybe outside of our region would understand they have an opportunity.
I think the way this was written, this was the contractor I believe that we used in 2017 when we did the slurry seal.
It was called slurry seal? Okay.
It's the type of work that we're doing here on this contract.
Okay. We'll see you in 2
Microsurfacing
weeks.
Contracting was the contractor in 2017.
Correct.
They're basically the only ones in this region that does the work.
That is this contract that we're talking about now. Okay.
And that's why they're the only ones that bid on the job.
So they were able to meet the goal in 2017, but in 2019, they're not able to meet the goal.
No, well, there's two things we're looking at here. The waiver is for the MBE participation. That's the subcontractor portion. The workforce piece is a separate component, and I don't know the answer to, I think the way that this was written is that the staff was saying that they met the workforce participation rates in 2017, the last time this was awarded. I don't know if that's the case this year, just because it wasn't clear on this council communication. We can clarify that in 2 weeks and come back to you and let you
That
know
works
what
for
that
me.
says.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
With that, I'd
Council-
like to defer this item for 2 weeks.
Councilman Graham?
May I speak to the deferral?
Yes.
Our roads need to be fixed. See the districts, all the districts where we need this work done. It's been very clearly explained that the most recent slurry seal contract, which occurred in 2017, had minority participation, which exceeded city goals. There is no attempt to get around providing and encouraging equal opportunity for all here. We are almost to the month of September. Delaying this has real consequences for our motorists and certainly for the people in my district, which has only 2 streets down here. I see quite a few streets in District 3, 4, and 5. Now, I'm not in favor of deferring anything to make somebody feel good when all the objective indicators are that, and our equal opportunity officers signing off on this say, let's go. So I will not support a motion to defer.
Thank you. I did not have a second for that motion. Do we have a second for the motion to defer? Seconded by Councilmember Ali. Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whether I feel good or not about something is irrelevant. Whether we have equal participation with all of our community members is the important issue here. I would contend that many of the streets in the First District, by what I am told, are probably older than many other streets. Maybe not the 2 streets that are listed in your district, sir. But it's not whether I feel good about it at all. It's whether we are having an equitable conversation and opportunity for individuals to do this kind of work. And I don't think 2 weeks is going to, 2 weeks is not January 1st or December 15th or November 19th or any time that's going to bring us into the cold weather where this can't be done. And to say that 2 weeks is going to take us out of the area of work on roads, I think is incorrect. And so with that, I would hope that my colleagues would agree that 2 weeks delay to get an answer on equitable treatment of our entire community is well worth the wait. And if we can wait in the first district, God knows our roads are awful, then I think it should be, the 2 weeks would be time well spent. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Councilman Montalongo.
Certainly I'm in favor of the minority business that we should be doing. But I have to say that since our equal opportunity manager has said there's been good faith effort, I'd have to probably go with that, and I'd have to probably agree with Councilman Graham that our roads need to be fixed. I also know that there's a weather, the roads got to be, the weather has to be hot for this to work, so we're up against time as well. And I know our number one issue in Peoria are our roads. So I will not be supporting a deferral on this, and I think we could still continue this investigation as we move forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? The motion on the floor is to defer. Please cast your ballots. That motion fails with 3 ayes and 7 noes. Voting aye, Council members Ali, Moore, and Regenbach. So can I get a motion, Councilman Graham?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded Councilman Ruckriegel. Discussion on the motion. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Moore. The motion passes with 8 ayes, 2 nays. Voting no, Council members Ali and Moore. Madam Clerk.
19-262 is the request to approve Amendment Number 3 to the intergovernmental agreement between the city and Peoria Public Schools for police officers.
Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few questions about this, and should I direct them to the city manager or
You can start there.
chief? Okay. The first question I haven't mentions, originally when this program was set up, I believe we got COPS funding to pay for the officers. Are we going to receive that money? Do we anymore?
The COPS funding has expired, so this is just reimbursement from the school district for the officers' time.
Okay, and I did see on there with the hourly rate on the back of the school district's action item for their board says it's $47.01 per hour. How much total is the contract for? It didn't say it since it's just an amendment.
Well, it's 180 days of time that they'll be in the classrooms or in the schools when the schools are open at 8 hours a day times 47.01 times the 3 officers, not 4. I think that's one of the other points of distinction here. It's just the high schools that we're talking about at this point in time. So I'd have to just quickly do the math for you on that. So you're looking at roughly about $67,000 per officer that we would be reimbursed for their time. So $180,000.
Okay, and I think you just said it's rather than funding 4 officers, we're only going to place 3. Is that right?
Correct, just in the high schools, and that's simply due to the staffing that we currently have within the police department at this point in time.
If that's the case, then do we need an amendment? Because this action item provides for 4.
I think
actually the amendment number 3 does not change the number of officers in the body of the previous agreement, so we don't need to change that. while it does say that in the preparatory remarks, this does not say that in the actual amendment, so we don't need to change that.
Okay, so the prior contract only funded 3?
Correct.
Okay. I guess my question is, if the Peoria Public Schools employed their own police force like they used to do prior to the change of the law, those 3 officers then we'd be able to use them ourselves and put them on the streets. Is that right?
We would
Patrol.
certainly redeploy those 3 officers. I think in the conversations that we've had over the years with the police department, and maybe Assistant Chief Mashinsky can follow up on that, I think we've always felt that there's been great value in having the 3 officers at the high schools because of the contacts that they make to the students, both during the school year and then when they're out in the summertime. So, and I don't know, Chief, if there's anything else that you want to add to that in that regard, but that's more of a policing question than it is a management question, so.
All right, Chief Marion's out of town, told me I wouldn't have to talk tonight, but obviously that wasn't right. But so the value in having us in District 150, I think you guys know that they are no longer police officers, they're security, so they're not armed. So none of them are armed in the school. So, I mean, obviously, I think we all know kind of how the world is today, that there's definitely the need to have us in the schools. Also, I think that it definitely helps out with mentoring as well. I think it's been great to have Peoria police officers in the high schools to get to know the kids. You know, whether it's you know, some of the kids that maybe aren't going down the right road, or even better, the kids that are going down the right road, to mentor them, and you know, they help sometimes recruit police officers for us, and you know, I just think for a safety concerns, we like having them in the schools.
Okay, and I appreciate your comments, Assistant Chief, and I agree, you know, as somebody who represented the school district for a number of years, that there's a need to have officers in the schools. I just am concerned if you take it in context with the conversations we had yesterday at that meeting in the East Bluff, and with the shortage of our manpower in our police force, I just, you know, want to make sure that's money well spent. And if we can help, I know there's a move to try to get the state legislature to change the law so that Peoria Public Schools can employ their own police force again. If that's something that, you know, those of us around the horseshoe think it's important, so then we can use our own officers for city issues, and the Peoria Public Schools can employ their own police force. Mention that to your state legislators, because there is legislation that will probably come forward. So I'm just using this moment to bring that forward, because I know we need as many police officers as we have and as we can get, I think, in the neighborhoods, helping fight crime and doing community police. Thank you.
Councilman Graham.
Well, I worked for the Peoria Public Schools for 33 years, and as I think most everybody around the horseshoe knows, because of a law that wasn't being heeded, it was thought that we were illegally allowing school resource officers to be armed in the schools. Hence, the need for the Peoria Public Schools to come and ask us to assist in the protection of the children at their attendance centers in an era in which, just recently in Dayton, Ohio, some 26 people were shot in 32 seconds. And yes, we do have some of our state lawmakers. I know Senator Kaler, Mayor, you can vouch for this, is working hard to get this law changed so that it's not just Peoria with a special school district with special powers. District 150 is different than most school districts in the state, where it can have school resource officers go back to being able to carry guns so we don't have to have Peoria police officers there. But in the meantime, until such time as that legislation is changed, I think we have an obligation to ensure that our children are safe and our staff in the schools. On the other hand, let me make something completely and totally clear. The Peoria police officers assigned to the schools are not there to be disciplinarians. That is not their job. School code charges each principal of each attendance center with 2 jobs: taking roll and maintaining discipline. And our Peoria police officers should never be the first line of defense in terms of discipline. The school board has rules and regulations which it enforces or should enforce to ensure that the involvement of our Peoria police officers is rare. Rare. I certainly don't feel comfortable having Peoria police officers in our schools, but under the current circumstances, I think it's something we darn near have to do until such time as they do their magic or whatever in Springfield. So to me, it's very simple. And also, a lot of the issues that occur within a school may not be internally generated. Sometimes it is. It's external forces coming into the school. And on the way to school, and on the way home from school. And manager, one other thing, I just don't understand why for the second year in a row, and I did contact Chief Marion about this, why we continue to have this memo written in such a way that we're being asked to provide 4 when each time it's been 3. Why are we doing that? Do we mean the alternative school? That was the first question I had. Are we going over to Woodruff High School with the alternative school operation with our 4th? Do we want 4 because maybe 3 won't be enough? Maybe we need 2 in a given school depending on what's happening in the neighborhood. This is why I continue to be alarmed when I see this 4 instead of 3.
No, when we received the communication from the school district, it still stated 4. I think when it was written up as 4, but it should have been clarified as 3. So that was a mistake on our part.
Thank you, Chief Mushinsky, for your input. Do we have a motion to approve? Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Second, Councilman Regenbach. Further discussion, Councilman Rucker.
Thank you. You know, to me, it becomes really easy because I think that we would all like that law to change, and we will continue to push with our legislators to be able to make that law allow school staff to be able to do what they need to be able to do to protect our students. But until that time, the kids in Peoria Public Schools are Peoria kids. They're our kids. And so it's very simple for me. I'm for protecting our kids until we can get that law passed. And I hope that we reach out to our legislators, talk to them, tell them the importance of this. But until that day comes by, we need to make sure that our kids are safe. So I will be voting yes for this.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. I'm seeing no more lights. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
Business 19-265 is a communication from the mayor, police chief, and fire chief with a request for the following. A is to adopt an ordinance amending the City of Peoria 2019 revised annual budget relating to the use of general fund balance to provide funding for the acquisition of armored shields, rifle plate vests, ballistic shields, and ballistic helmets in the amount of $47,547. B is to approve the sole source purchase of 5 level 3A armored shields from Blue Ridge Armor in the amount of $17,375. And C is to approve the sole source purchase of 35 rifle plate vests, 20 ballistic vests, and 16 ballistic helmets from Federal Eastern International in the amount of $30,172. And if we could have separate motions and votes on these items, please.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Sear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve item 19-265A, please.
Okay, on item A, we have a motion to approve, seconded by Councilman Ruckriegel. Is there discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. On item B, Councilman Sear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve item 19-265B.
Seconded by Councilmember Gribb. Is there discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. And on item C, Councilman Sear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve item 19-265C.
Seconded by Councilmember Riggenbach. Discussion on this item. Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
If there's no further unfinished business,
Do we have any unfinished business this evening? Unfinished? Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very delighted to bring back our update on unfinished business that we had been talking about here recently, that I started talking about almost 4 years ago now. And that was the issue of the city, in my opinion, not communicating well with our citizens. And I received a phone call today from Stacy Peterson, the ever hardworking Stacy Peterson, about if you recall, I've been talking about using our Channel 22 to be able to communicate to our citizens. A lot of folks are not on Facebook. They're not on, they don't go to our website. They may not read the paper, but most everybody has what used to be called free TV, so if you will, free TV. And I am happy to report that today we entered into a contract with a company that's going to provide us with a bulletin board on Channel 20 to provide our citizens with up-to-date, current information about what's happening with the city. And so the call just came today from Stacy, and so she will be coming back to us later with a more detailed information that will include when it will start, what it will look like, making a presentation to you. And so look for that. So I'm just happy to let the citizens of Peoria know that we continue to hear you say we don't do a very good job of communicating to you. And with this, we hope we're going to get on the road to better communication. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other unfinished business this evening? Unfinished. Madam Clerk.
we would be at new business.
New business to come before the council. New business, Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all the folks who came out last night in the East Bluff and our friends from the Police Department, Assistant Chief. Thank you for having your team there to address a lot of the concerns that we've been hearing about crime. And clearly there's no definitive answer was made, but there was a good dialogue and a lot of ideas bandied about. One thing that came up over and over again was the need to give our young people something to do, and it needs to start younger and younger. So I was talking with Director Black this afternoon about how, again, do we communicate those things to do. So he's going to be reaching out to the police department, the Park District, United Way, some other nonprofits in town, and just try to catalog those activities that are already taking place, those mentorship opportunities for the youth in our community. That way, when somebody says, my kids don't have anything to do, we can tell them, well, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? And there will be a organized way to help fill that void. So I think that was a very tangible takeaway from our discussion last night, and thank all those involved. I also just have to thank Habitat. I see Ms. Schmidtgall has already left the building, but oftentimes they get overlooked for the commitment that they have to Peoria, and whether it's the North Valley, the work they've done there, or things in the East Bluff. We appreciate Habitat and all of those people in the community that help build those houses. And I just have to thank my colleagues for their support for the POF approval as well, because, starting with the impact zone, when Bob Manning sat here and George Jacob, and they really championed a lot of things in the East Bluff. We know clearly it doesn't happen overnight. It's incremental, but I think a lot of the changes that we're seeing in the East Bluff in particular are going to be sustainable because they're organic, and it's the people in the neighborhood that are leading the charge. So I'm just happy that we're able to provide resources as appropriate. So thank you to the council for that approval tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to announce that the City of Peoria is now a member of the National League of Cities. And if you don't know what that is, you may recall that the National League of Cities was the organization that asked me to be part of a national housing task force. But they don't just work on housing. They are the city's advocate for various issues that our cities are struggling with: economic development, housing, as I've mentioned, safety. They are a research organization. They are an advocate at the governmental level, and so that you know that now we are a member of that organization. And if there are needs, if there was any need for research in a certain area, we can go to them, and they have tons of research on different topics that might impact our city, that we can get that information from them. So please utilize the National League of Cities, because I will be doing that. The other announcement, yesterday, today is Tuesday, Monday, these Peoria Public Schools had their annual, I want to say, celebration of the start of school, where all of the teachers, in this particular case, did something very 21st century. They were all in their own schools instead of going to Bradley as they normally do, and there was a communication to them in their own schools. And so at that time, there were some announcements that are often the case when they were meeting at Bradley, and there were various teachers and administrators recognized. And I want to say congratulations to all of those who were recognized, but I needed to have a special congratulations to those from the 1st District. I'll let the other districts acknowledge their own folks. I think there was someone from Thomas Jefferson School, so if that's your district, be ready. And so I wanted to recognize really quickly Hetty Elliott, who is a teacher at Lincoln School. She was awarded, she was recognized as the Classroom Teacher of the Year. So that's outstanding, because if anyone knows Hetty Elliott, for her not to have received this award would have been a shame, because she works so hard in the community helping students of all age groups. Then there was, and she's at Lincoln School. Also at Lincoln School, Monica Wilson, the safety resource officer there. She was recognized as the Educational Service Personnel to Those Who Excel winner. And next we have Fabian Daniels, who's the principal of Harrison Community Learning Center. She was named Administrator of the Year. And we also have Michelle Wolf, who is an early career educator for the deaf and hard of hearing teacher at Valeska Hinton Early Childhood Education Center. And she was recognized as the Early Career Educator Award. So I want to recognize all of those from the 1st District schools, but all the schools, all the winners from those schools, you're all winners. If I didn't call your name, it was because I want to wait for your city council member to mention it, and just in case they don't have it, because I have, my spouse is a substitute teacher, and he's substituting at Harrison, so that's why I got to know this information early on. But I will mention Erin Dykstra. She's a parent-teacher club volunteer at Charter Oak Primary School and Mark Bill School. And she also was awarded the Those Who Excel winner in the volunteer category. And I want to make sure I get all the teachers and all the folks who volunteer at the schools, because it's so important. Jill Season, she's a Thomas Jefferson Primary School nurse. Jill Seaton, excuse me. She also is a recipient of Those Who Excel in the student support personnel category. And lastly, there was an organization, the 2019 Those Who Excel Award in the team category was awarded to the Junior League of Peoria. And so congratulations to all of the winners within the Peoria Public Schools. Our schools, remarkable happens every day. And so thank you for supporting the schools. What they do is vitally important to our community, and recognizing these folks who are in the schools every single day with our children. We need to make sure that they know that they have our support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Montalongo, new business.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to announce that tomorrow is the 38th Annual Taste of Peoria. It's put on by PACE, the Peoria Area Community Events. It starts at 4 o'clock, will end at 11. It will be at Northwoods Mall this year. It's a block party atmosphere with music and about 40 different vendors. So I hope the community comes out.
Thank you. Any additional new business to come before the council tonight? New business, Madam Clerk.
Yes, if you don't mind, I'll take a moment, just one moment. I had an Oscar moment before where I forgot to thank someone very important, and that would be, not only have I not had the same job for 30 years, I've also had the same husband, and actually over 40 years. We have been married almost 47 this year, and yes, we were children when we got married, but I just want to thank him for always being at home, waiting for me after these long meetings, and he's my rock, and I appreciate him greatly. As we all know, we can't do this without the people at home who support us, so I'd just like to say a word of thanks to him. So So we would be at citizens' opportunity to address the City Council.
Okay. First up, we have William Jones.
Good evening, Mayor Artis, everybody here, council. As you know, I've been working on the Alexa Scott search groups. I lead the searches. I talked to April Allen before I came here tonight, the mother of Alexa Scott. As you know, she would not come here tonight. She's been really upset over the things that's going on in this case. As you know, it's going on 2 years next month. Not 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 years. Think about that. 2 years without knowing where your daughter's at. Now, I've come to this council and I've shook hands with a lot of you. Some of you are good people, and I think the mayor's a good man. But I'm going to tell you, don't take my kindness for a weakness, because that could be your worst nightmare, I'm telling you. Now, I'm coming here tonight, Chief. I know Chief Marion's not here tonight, but I'm not asking. I'm speaking for April Allen. We want another press conference, but we want it open to an open forum with the public where we can ask questions about some of the things in this case. I know there's things myself that I've given information, and people in this campaign that I've given information. There's been new information that's come out, some on social media, and I know some things they can't bring out, but she needs an update. It's been over a year and a half that they've had one. And we don't want a closed one. We want an open one where people can ask questions and respond to your questions and answers that you give, because last time there was some information that was false and incorrect. It will not happen the next time. I promise you, if you do not, I will get national media down here in Peoria, and it will not look good for Peoria or this council. I promise you. You take that to the bank. I know people that will bring them down here. And I haven't done it yet because I'm giving you the opportunity. Please, I'm begging you, for April Allen's sake, would you do that? Would you at least get to Chief Marion and ask him that? And you're going to have this opportunity, Chief. I think you're a nice guy. I would hope that you would at least relay that to him, that message to him for me for April. Like I said, it's been 2 years. It'll be 2 years next month she's been missing. And it's not just a missing person case. Everybody in this city knows that apparently I don't know if this council doesn't know that. It's not a runaway program, you know. They know that. I've been told that directly by Mr. Boland, that it's not a missing person case. It is a homicide case. He's told me directly that at a meeting where Mr. Greb and them was at a church not more than 8 months ago. If he thinks that, then he needs to step forward, give a press conference, and not a closed press conference. We don't want a closed one in private where no one can ask questions like last time and question their answers. We want one in an open forum where people in the public can ask them questions and give a response to the answers that they're given, times, dates, and facts. And that's all we're asking for, just another update. Please, it's been over a year, and you do have time to do it, but I promise you, like I said, don't take my kindness for a weakness. That's the biggest mistake you can make. I could be your biggest nightmare if you want me to be. This is your opportunity to step forward. Thank you.
Next up, we have Rachel O'Reilly.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I'm Rachel O'Reilly, also with the Alexis Camry Scott campaign. However, my opinions are a reflection of my opinions and may or may not reflect the group. The Saturday, the 31st, there will be another search for Alexis from 10 to 1 p.m. Please come if you can. It will meet at the old Kroger on Wisconsin. Again, that's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Just 3 hours of your time. If it was you or one of your missing loved ones, you would want people to search for you. Also, please have this press conference. That's what the mother is asking for. Don't just be about lip service. In my opinion, being as how one of your own city council members has an allegation of prostitution, my personal opinion is this sex and human trafficking, how high up does it go? Please do everything you can for Alexis Camry Scott. Please have this press conference. Show us that you really, really care and that you aren't in on it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Kevin Jones. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
We have an executive session.
Councilor Leist.
Yes, Your Honor. A motion would be appropriate pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, which exempts discussions of the performance of a specific employee. Also 2C2, which exempts discussions relative to collective bargaining negotiations, as well as 2C11, which exempts discussions relative to pending litigation. And finally, pursuant to 2C21, which exempts discussions or approval of previously closed minutes.
We have a motion to go into executive session by Councilman Sear, seconded by Councilmember Ruckriegel. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously, and then we have a motion to adjourn by Councilman Sear and seconded by Councilman Ruckriegel. Please cast your ballots. And that motion also passes unanimously. We'd like to thank H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU as well as Cable Channel 22, and this meeting is adjourned.